Greetings YouTube, it's Alan and I'm back with another video, and for this video I wanted to review and sort of give my thoughts on the recent Dash deck that won the Calling Singapore. And to be honest, I was very surprised that Dash won this event, but seeing the deck in the semifinal and final matches showed me just how powerful this Dash deck is. Now, I do have some reservations about this Dash deck. I don't necessarily think it will become like the tier 0 deck of the format, but I do think it's a very interesting addition to the meta that people will have to start planning around, building around, etc. So before we get into it, please like, comment, subscribe. As usual, if I missed anything or if there's anything you want to add or anything you want to see in these future sort of deck reviews, please comment down below. And yeah, let's get into it. So first off, I want to start with a little story. And let's start with the Wombat story, right? I want to say about a month ago, I heard through the grapevine that there was a Dash deck that was extremely powerful, could dunk on all the aggro decks, could still beat Oldhim. And I was like, that seems like what Dash players say every meta, right? So then I was like, I have my reservations about it. But after seeing that Dash dunk on Viserai and Briar, I was like, okay, there's something to this deck. Now, I still have my reservations about how well it performs into other decks and how well it still performs into the Guardian decks, but I do think this Dash deck is a very interesting thing to see. And the reason why people call it Wombat was because originally when I heard about this deck like a month ago, I heard that people called it Wombat Dash and that, you know, people were going to try to play it at like the Pro Tour in France as like a surprise factor, but no one ever really talked about it since then. And then since that moment, whenever I saw a stream or a video of like a Dash player, people would just spam the Wombat fun facts. And then now that we've actually seen like the deck in action, well, I assume this is at least what people were referring to with the Wombat Dash. The cat's out of the bag, I guess. So I decided to sort of import this basically to a FabDB so I could take a better look at what the deck looks like. And yeah, looking at the deck, the main deck is just basically, or this is what I assume it looks like, just a very aggressive, fast, 60-card, full boost Dash deck. And, you know, you got the Combustible Courier, which added so much value in those games. Maximum Velocity is like a great turn ender if they're trying to just block you out. And Payload's also great for the Dominate because once they see you're on a Talishar boost Dash, they will try to, or even aggressive decks like, you know, Briar and Viserai will try to block you out. I do think the players in the semifinal and final were a bit inexperienced in the matchup, and I don't think they realized that they could try to just full fatigue. But I am unsure whether or not the Runeblades can full fatigue. I've heard that even Viserai with just 2 blocks can still full fatigue boost Dash, but I'm not sure. So yeah, the T-Bones are also huge, especially in that final game. Being able to triple T-Bone and get rid of Briar's Crown of Providence and his and a 2-block on his grasps in turn 0 was absolutely huge. Going first with this deck is so insane because you have Spark of Genius, you have an extra Teklo Pounders, you have Teklo Core, you have so many things that you can set up on turn 1 that it's just, this deck absolutely loves going first. I am curious to see how much better this deck performs going second. But yeah, I think this is like what the deck will probably, or I don't think this main boost Dash deck will change too much. The sideboard, I think, is probably the most interesting thing to look at because this sideboard is very clearly just anti-Guardian, basically. You have the Induction Chambers and Plasma Purifiers to set up for the late game, and you have basically 7 defense reacts. Reinforce the Line is like kind of a defense react. But I think, see, this sideboard is weird to me because like I'm not sure it's defensive enough to beat Bravo. But I do think you could probably squeeze out wins versus Oldhim with just the triple Induction Chamber, triple Plasma Purifier maybe. But we'll have to see. And then Visiertronic for some Arcane Barrier, and then the Teklo Plasma Pistol, of course, for the Guardian sideboard. So taking a look at this description, I found this. I'll link to it in the description. It's credited to Jason Zhang. Shoutouts to him for piloting this Dash deck. And it's a hyper-aggressive deck, of course. They talk about when to use Achilles Accelerator, basically after a Spark of Genius to put down another Pounder or a Payload or something. Maximum Velocity is also a huge part of this build and to really push those higher damage turns where your opponent just can't full block. Crown of Providence is amazing against CNC. 5-card hands are also just amazing to play with if you just need to use it anyways. And then T-Bone, obviously also a great card because the aggro decks have armor that they really don't want to block with just willy-nilly, so that's the thing. But I wanted to go over this part, the weaknesses. So the classes that apparently this build struggles against is Guardian, Warrior, Wizard, Bricking, and Fatigue. So Guardian, Warrior, Wizard. Well, let's move on. I wanted to make sort of like a matchup tier list. So first, I'm only going to go ahead and try and throw all the aggro decks in here. This is based on the assumption that this Wombat Dash deck can't be fatigued by these aggro decks because they have too many 2-blocks. I don't know if that's true, but we'll see. So according to this, the Guardians are a bit unfavored. Wizards are unfavored just because of the lack of Arcane Barrier. I mean, you do have AB2, or no, AB3 with Achilles Accelerator and the Visitronic. But I wonder, actually, I don't even know if this Dash deck will struggle against Icelander because we saw how the Briar deck just absolutely dominated Icelander. I definitely feel like Icelander could probably be 50-50. Kano, I'm also unsure on. Honestly, you could probably just blow out Kano, maybe. I'll just throw him in don't know because I don't know for sure. Warrior, I actually do agree with. I don't think this deck is favored into Warrior at all. Bolton, I don't know though. But for Dorinthia, for example, I don't think you can full boost Dash into Dorinthia. She will just block you out and win the game if you show Talishar. If you show Pistol and play a bit more mid-rangey game, I think you don't have enough defense reacts to sort of beat Dorinthia. I think if you ran more Fate for Scenes, that might change the case. But Reinforce the Line, I guess it doesn't really work for Dorinthia because you still need to block with a card to play Reinforce the Line, and that'll trigger Reprise for Dorinthia. So this is definitely a Guardian tech more than a Warrior tech, which is fine because you see more Guardians in the meta anyways. But yeah, so moving on. Katsu, I think, is weird because Katsu decks can range from hyper aggressive to pretty defensive. So I'm also going to put him in don't know. I think Katsu has a bit of an easier time than these 3 aggro decks because his cards generally block better. But if you're playing a very aggressive Katsu deck with like even bigger than that, then you're going to have a hard time. And then, yeah, moving on. Prism, pretty sure you're Omega favored there. You just burst them with so much damage they can't do anything about it. Dromai, I assume, is also favored just because she needs more time to set up. And Dash, as seen with this recent showing, has shown to basically be the fastest deck if you can go turn 1. Turn 2, I don't know if she's the fastest deck necessarily, but turn 0, I should say. But yeah, going first, I think Dash has a huge advantage over the aggro decks. Lexi, the thing with Lexi is that most of her cards actually do block for 3. So she could fatigue you out if you went full boosty woosty, and she could also disrupt you, which is an issue. But thinking about it, I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess unfavored maybe. And then Reinhardt Levia, I don't know. I guess Reinhardts have access to like what's it called? What's that card called? Smash with Big Tree? Is that no? Not Smash with Arg Smash. Arc Smash, the one that breaks your items. But I assume you would just go full boost against Reinhardt anyways, and at that point they could just fatigue you. So the thing is, this deck is it's an example of one of those very proactives, has a simple game plan, but once people adapt to it, that's when you need to start switching things up or maybe having certain sideboard cards to sort of help your deck out because well, first of all, bricking is obviously high potential if you have too many blues, too many items, too many no blocks, whatever. But any deck can brick basically. But Dash, I guess, this deck does have a higher tendency just due to the cards. And fatigue, the thing is with fatigue, I will assume that any deck with like a majority 3 block can fatigue. So that would go with all of these classes. So the question is, can you sort of pivot into this pistol sideboard game? And you can, I would say, for the Guardians. So maybe they could be closer to 50-50, or maybe Oldham is closer to a 50-50. I'm not sure about Bravo. I think Bravo has just a bit more better offensive tools than Oldham. But these other decks, I'm not sure if a pistol game plan can beat them, especially when it's like a half-baked pistol game plan. And then I'm also pretty sure that these decks could just fatigue. I mean, Reiner and Levia do have no blocks with their brute cards, but yeah, I don't know. So I think this deck is really interesting. It targets the meta very effectively. I think the fact that it can beat the aggro decks, it can beat Illusionists, and it can have like a decent time into Guardian, albeit maybe not necessarily favored because your deck isn't built around the pistol plan, I think was a very smart choice to bring to the Calling Singapore. And yeah, and we saw the deck take down the win. But the thing is, people are going to be prepared for the Pro Tour in Lille. So I don't expect Dash to necessarily come out the gate swinging, and we'll see like 3 dashes in top 8. But I do expect, to see some Dash at the feature tables, especially with the list that's very similar to this. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the deck. If I was redoing my tier list, I probably would put Dash up in S tier, probably to replace Viserai. I think Briar and Dash, and I would probably move Prism down now too. I think Briar and Dash are probably the 2 best decks of the format. You could maybe throw Oldhim in there. Actually, screw it. Yeah, I would throw, if this was a tier list, it would probably be Briar, Dash, Prism, Oldhim. Those would be like my 4, I'd say, strongest. And then maybe Bravo's up here, maybe Fi's up here, Icelander's up here too, maybe. And then something like this is what I would say a tier list would look like. But yeah, so I think it's very exciting that Dash has found a deck that is very strong. I know people have been talking about it for a long time, but this is the first time I've seen it in action and sort of basically seen it produce results. So I'm excited to see where the meta evolves from here. I think that the aggro decks will need to test if they can full block with just their main deck and fatigue Dash, or if maybe the dashes will adjust too. Like if everyone assumes they're going to be playing Wombat Dash and they play like this more like quote unquote fair pistol dash with high octane that plays a more mid-rangey style, they can catch decks off guard that sort of hedge for Wombat Dash maybe. I don't know. There's just a lot of mind games to it, and I think that it's going to be super interesting to see what happens. But yeah, that was my review of this deck. Shoutouts to Jason for winning with this deck. Congrats. He got that nice Crown of Providence to play with his Dash deck or to sell and make some big money. And yeah, that's my review on this Dash deck. I think it's a very good deck. I think that the meta will be much more exciting now with the new deck that's basically come out of the blue. Well, not out of the blue. Some people have been talking about it, but yeah. I'll probably do more deck reviews, specifically on the Fi deck. And spoiler alert, I actually don't like that Fi deck, but it is what it is. But yeah, that was my review on this Dash deck. Let me know what you think. And if there's anything you want to see in these type of deck reviews in the future, please let me know. And yeah, I'll see you around.